Oh man, okay, it's gotta be somewhere around here. We've reached the jackpot, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the PlayStation, one of the first disc-based home consoles released in 1995 by Sony Computer Entertainment. Growing up at a time when I was obsessed with the new hot gaming console at the time that I unfortunately couldn't own on my own, I spent a majority of my time playing the latest and greatest at my cousin's house. Not a single family gathering went by when I wasn't watching them play the GameCube or the Nintendo 64, showing off games like Super Mario 64 and Super Smash Bros. Melee. So while I couldn't play these kind of games at home, we had our own placeholder for the time being, and that was the PlayStation. And what a fantastic console it was, especially after being tuned into Nintendo's library for so long. The PlayStation was a huge wake-up call to me as a kid. There was such a wide variety of games and genres that just sort of clashed together. It brought this atmosphere of mystery, of any game imaginable being on this console. This is probably the biggest reason why it's still so memorable for me to this day. I could just simply go ahead and talk about any of the classic PlayStation games that I grew up with in full detail. For example, there was Metal Gear Solid. It was one of the first cinematic experiences I ever had with the game. It was so enthralling to me at the time. Then of course there was Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon. It was a pretty good platformer that had a lot of fantasy and charm, and there was kick-ass drums in almost every track. I remember that the most about this game. Of course, how could I forget about Mega Man X6, a game that was hard as balls for me as a kid, but it did introduce me to the X series as a whole. Hell, I even did a video on Jammer Lammy and Parappa the Rapper, two of my favorite rhythm games on the system, and that's not even going into what I thought about Dance Dance Revolution. I think I pretty much made my point here. I could just stand here and talk about all the great classic PS1 games that we all remember, and we can all have a good old goofy nostalgic time, but let's do something a bit different. The next few thoughts videos are going to be a marathon of sorts. I have here 3 of the very first PlayStation 1 games that I've ever played. Come to think of it, I remember getting all 3 of them on the exact same day, bundled together as a gift. Sometimes I would just keep them stacked to each other on a shelf, like as if they were inseparable siblings or Siamese twins or whatever. Anyway, I remember playing these 3 games specifically way back when, but nowadays, I'm pretty sure no one knows what the heck these games even are or how anyone could possibly find them. Probably in like the lowest region of a bargain bin or something. But I figured that as important as looking at the games that define the system are, it's the more obscure titles that brought the most memories for me. So with that being said, let's go start off this reunion and go to the first game. There's gonna be a lot of green screen explosions, aren't there? So, today let's think about the bombing islands for the PlayStation 1. Let's take a moment right now to consider the copious amounts of puzzle games we've gotten over the years. From Minesweeper to Tetris to Bejeweled to Candy Crush Saga, I mean, I guess that one counts. While the formula of puzzling the player with a unique gimmick has evolved time and time again, one thing stays true and consistent with almost all of them. They're always confined to a 2D format. Usually to keep things simple and not overcomplicate themselves with polygons, but really, when the dawn of 3D did arrive for consoles like the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation, puzzle games didn't really make that tremendous jump to the third dimension, as other genres like platformers were famous for. Take a game like Tetris for example. It's a classic puzzle game where you drop two-dimensional shapes down a vertically suspended plane. Now look at a game like the new Tetris. Whoa, 3D graphics and it's all pre-rendered, sure, but it's still a game where you drop two-dimensional shapes down a vertically suspended plane. It's kind of funny how turning a 2D game into a 3D game was such a monumental task for a lot of franchises, while puzzle games didn't even try. And while there are exceptions to that claim like the Virtual Boy Tetris and even Intelligent Cube for the PlayStation, let's look at this one specifically. This is the Bombing Islands developed by Kemco. It was actually based on a puzzle game for the MS-DOS called Bomboozle, or Kablooey for the Super Nintendo. Your basic objective was to move around and blow up bombs in each of the levels. One of its notable features was being able to play the game from an overhead perspective, making it akin to most traditional puzzle games, and an isometric view, which gave the illusion of a 3D perspective almost. I guess you could say the Bombing Islands is the true 3D reincarnation of this game. However, this time, instead of playing as this guy, or this blue bombing bastard, you get to play as Kid Klown. Everyone's favorite mascot growing up in the 90s. Okay, chances are you probably know next to nothing about Kid Klown, and honestly, I don't blame you. Let's do a brief character biography here. Kid Klown was the property of Chemco Corporation, acting as their mascot of sorts. He got his original debut in a game for the NES called Kid Klown in Nightmare World, which was apparently one of the many crazy castle games at the time. He had another game for the Super Nintendo called Kid Klown and Crazy Car Chase. This one actually does look pretty entertaining, and the animation's quite nice. This game also got a sequel on the PlayStation, which was only released in Japan, so all I could salvage was this FMV from the game's intro. And here we are now. Kid Klown, after so much critical outcry, is finally making his long-awaited return back to the spotlight once again with the bombing islands. Okay, look, I knew next to nothing about this guy, but even I can tell they're selling him out pretty damn thin over here. I mean, look, they just slapped his face on a random puzzle game and they don't even put his name on the freaking game. Anyway, let's go ahead and see how this game fares up. The game starts off like any good old PlayStation game starts, with a full motion video intro. Because damn it, they had tons of space left in that disc and they just weren't gonna let that go to waste. But in actuality, the game's plot is detailed in the manual, sort of. Thousands of light years from Earth lives a planet called Planet Klown, a planet dedicated to clowns supposedly, when suddenly its residents came across hundreds of blue bombs all over the place. The opening intro starts off at Kid Klown's house. How I know this is because there's a clear, large, colorful sign plastered on the house that proves that he is in fact a kid now. And a squid now. A local police clown knocks on the door, and Kid Klown doesn't look all that happy to see him. Jeez, dude, look, I'm really sorry about last night. Look, I promise I'll stop hiding the drugs in the balloons, I swear. You ever been to freaking clown prison? I'm pretty sure you don't know how it feels. People just like honk your nose just for shits and giggles. Honk honk, honk honk, you like that, little man? Honk honk, honk honk, let's do it again. It's sick! Kid Klown receives a message from the King Klown to clean up all the bombs in the 6 lands, including a general picture of the world with some poorly drawn arrows. Ignoring the danger, Kid Klown is enthusiastic on his quest to clean up the explosive mess, just as soon as the game's title card decks him in the face. We then get our title screen showing us a demo for one of the game's levels, including probably the strangest opening song to any game I've ever heard. Man, those singers must really like Kid Klown. I suppose they want me to like him too. Don't tell me what to do. Hitting start immediately drops you into the game's first level. Let's talk about the gameplay here. Much like Bomboozle and Kablooey, your goal is to rearrange the bombs in each stage and get rid of all of them by blowing them up at once. Each level typically has 2 different types of bombs. You got your standard blue bombs that are scattered throughout the levels. You can move them around to prepare your explosion, while some are planted firmly in their blocks so you can't move them. Blue bombs also have 3 variants that have different explosive power. For example, the small bombs are generally weak and only explode the one block that they sit on. Medium bombs cover both the space they occupy and the blocks in 4 directions. And lastly, the large bomb covers the space it occupies, 2 blocks in all 4 directions, and 4 diagonal directions, making it the largest explosive area out of all of the bombs. Each of these blue bombs are labeled with numbers to make them easier to tell apart. Then you got the igniter bomb. These are the red bombs that you'll mainly focus on igniting in order to start your pattern. Getting the bombs in a correct setup so that each bomb in its explosion affects the next ones in succession is the name of the game. Simply line up the bombs in a way you see fit, go up to the red bomb and press any face button to light a match and detonate it. From there, Kid Klown has 3 seconds to get out before the explosion takes out all the bombs and possibly himself if he is in space properly. Luckily, you only need to be at least 1 space away from the red bomb in order to stay safe, as the igniter bomb takes up the same explosive power as a medium bomb. But can I just point out right now that we're not just taking out the bombs in this world, we're taking out the islands too. Not only does the finishing explosion take out the blocks in every bomb's explosive reach, but once all the bombs are gone, the whole island just blows up, leaving Kid Klown stranded on a single block. Damn, talk about a pyromaniac. This guy's job was just to clear out the bombs in each of these worlds, not to take the worlds down with him. How does he even get to the next world all by his lonesome? Jeez, I really hope he has his swimming trunks. Especially for that quicksand, seriously. Failure to clear out all the bombs in a level or running out of time forces you to start again from the beginning. Along with the bombs come different game obstacles introduced throughout each level. For example, there's cracked blocks which you can only walk on once, there's blocks with oil on them that will make Kid Klown slip on his face and prevents him from pushing nearby bombs. There's blocks that have spikes on them which actually don't kill you, but rather let you jump up and land on one space or hop over any adjacent bombs. There's slippery ice blocks like that one gym from Gen 4, conveyor belts which drive me insane. And lastly, we have these bumpers. Pushing a bomb against them will have the bomb bounce 2 spaces back. It does squish you, yeah, but it does let you switch places with the bomb's original spot. So that's the basic gist of the game, navigating through these obstacles, pushing bombs so that they blow up altogether, and finding the right spot to hide in is the main challenge. And let me just say this. The first few levels are your standard fare. You simply detonate the igniter bomb, move a bomb 1 or 2 times, and everything's fine and dandy. But then, the levels decide to get a bit trickier, stages become a lot more intricate as you progress, and you will pull your hair out because this game is frustrating. Jeez, where do I begin? Okay, the game is generally trial and error, as there's usually one clear way to finish the level. How you find this method could take as short as 3 minutes to as long as 40 minutes. I shit you not. One level took me 40 minutes to figure out and it was tedious. The concept of the gameplay is creative, sure, but geez man, sometimes they really get carried away with the plenitude of bombs and obstacles you have to deal with at once. Sometimes a level is asking for very specific position so that every bomb gets accounted for. It can be very time consuming just trying to let your plan unfold. Look here, I'm trying to move these medium bombs around so that the small bomb gets taken care of, and oh look, I missed a single bomb. Now I have to do the whole thing all over again. Jeez, why can't you just push the bomb into the lake or something? The overall difficulty and pacing of the game are all over the place. Some levels can have the easiest solution at first, and then the next level forces you to move every single solitary bomb, forcing you to go back and forth and redo the levels constantly. I wouldn't have that much of a problem with it if Kid Klown didn't move so slow. His average walking and pushing speed isn't very ideal. It's almost as if the game wants you to take your time to plan things out, which does work in some instances where the level is exceptionally huge, but other times I just want him to get a move on. I mean, you see him run for his life once you detonate the bombs, so why not add a run button? I also don't like how you can't pull bombs backwards in this game. I could have saved myself a lot of stress and confusion if I was just able to pull a bomb out of a corner, but since Kid Klown, you know, the master chosen to clear all the bombs, can only push bombs, well, tough shit. That thing is stuck there forever, and there's nothing you can do about it. Stop bouncing around, you kid! I just want to complete the level, damn it! You know what? Let's see what the manual has to say about this shit. Great advice for clearing stages. The ultimate tips for finishing the most challenging stages in the game. Try to jump over obstacles, yeah I know. Remember bomb size and power, well duh. Keep bombs away from any corners, gee I wonder why. Alright, what the heck is this over here? Enjoy Kid Klown. Whether he's jumping, worried, falling down, or even burned, Kid Klown never stops trying. All of his expressions and clowning around are fun to watch, but wouldn't it be nice to see his happy victory pose? You know what? I think they do have a point. I mean, so far the game does seem pretty happy-go-lucky, and you know, it's trying to set the cartoony mood, so I might as well get into it. Yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and play a level, and go ahead and see that happy victory pose they were talking about. Okay, to be fair, while this game certainly is frustrating as all hell, there are some helpful features that do negate the anger a bit. For instance, you're actually given this very helpful put out and put in feature. By pressing select, it'll let you start off from the last move you performed, in case you do land a bomb in an impossible spot or want to retry. It's basically a quick rewind or fast forward feature, in case you do mess up and want to start again right away without having to sit through loading screens. Though it doesn't reset your time limit, so use it sparingly. The game also has a help mode featured in the pause menu. I originally thought that this was going to give you tips on how you could complete levels, but what this does is that it simply shows you a clip of how to beat the level. No kidding, this is literally what this feature does, it shows you how to beat the level. Unlike, say, the Cosmic Guide from Super Mario Galaxy 2, which completes the level for you but with an unfinished result, the help replay only shows you the solution and lets you redo the level from the beginning, so you can pretty much just replicate everything it just showed you. Okay look, I know before I was venting out about how tedious and time-consuming this game can be at times, but honestly, that doesn't seem very valid when a feature like this is around. Quite frankly, I can't imagine how a young child could possibly play this game without getting confused out of his or her mind. Hell, I didn't even get past the first 10 levels of this game when I first played it. But in all fairness, if you really are gouging your eyes out, you know, throwing your controller out of frustration just because you can't find that one solution, save yourself the stress and watch the help replay. If anything, it gives you pointers on how you can approach the next level with an open mind. Speaking of that, every level starts off with a preview of what's to come. Some are actually quite helpful. They introduce you to a lot of new game mechanics and obstacles through demonstration, while others, Alright, and like in Bomboozle, where you could change the perspective of the game from overhead to isometric, the bombing islands actually gives you a very intricate camera setup. By using the shoulder buttons, you can have an overhead perspective that lets you pan the camera, zoom in and zoom out. There's 4 different 3D camera angles you can play around with, and you can even rotate the stage with the L1 and R1 buttons. I have to give credit where credit is due. They really took advantage of the 3D space by giving you these features. Considering how some areas get really intricate and complex with their obstacles and bomb placements, it's very convenient to move the stage around to your liking. I had many problems with the game regarding its difficulty and pacing, but the camera was definitely not one of them, which is more than I can say for a lot of early 3D games at the time. Also, for some reason, you get ranked on the amount of steps you take whenever you complete a level. Rankings don't really mean anything in this game, so I wouldn't even bother with it. Just keep taking steps as you please. So my playthrough of the game has consisted of the first 30 levels of the game. That's about halfway through, and honestly, I got burned out at that point. I could not sit through another 30 levels of this shit without driving myself insane or something like that. So what I'm gonna do for you guys instead is we're gonna go ahead and skip to the 60th level by using a password so we can see the grand finale that this game has set up for me. By the way, passwords on a PlayStation game from the year 2000. Cause who the heck needs these things anymore, you know what I mean? Alright, level 60, here we go! Oh. Take it away, help feature! Oh right, now I gotta replay the same level it did. At last, I finally beat the 60th stage. All of the levels have been purged of their bombs and themselves, and I actually felt like I really accomplished something. Sure, I only truly beat half the game and skipped straight to the end, but you know, it's still a feat nonetheless. I'll take what I can get. But for now, let's go ahead and see that gratifying ending. What? Wait, what'd you say? Who's this guy? Wait, what is... What? What do you mean? What? He throws his nose at me? What? Huh? Okay, first of all, I think we need to address this. You stupid. You stupid. Second of all, Mr. King Klown or whatever, you could have told the freaking kid to clear out all the bombs and not blow up the islands. I mean, I don't think that general picture he got gave him the right idea. You know, the squiggly lines don't really tell much. And lastly, build all of the islands from scratch all over again? I mean, what kind of satisfying conclusion is that? I originally thought that this was a second quest, or, you know, like a bad ending or something like that, but nope, the game just ends like that. On the most depressing and unsatisfying note I've ever seen. Even Kid Klown is just like, man, I have enough of this shit, I'm freaking done with video games, just get out, it's all over, you can leave. Go away. But overall, The Bombing Islands is a pretty creative puzzle game. It is a faithful 3D reimagining of its original game, but at the same time, it's one of the most mind-numbing and tedious challenges you'll ever face. The game's concept is definitely cool, and I do see this having potential as some sort of level creator game. I didn't even mention the presentation, which is actually not half bad. The visuals are colorful and cartoony, Kid Klown's animations, while minimal, are actually pretty fun to watch, and the game's soundtrack fits the theme of each of the worlds. The Ice World in particular, I actually really like the theme of that one. The game isn't impossible or unplayable by any means, but it does offer quite the challenge from the get-go, mainly because of the overload of things you have to deal with at once. I honestly couldn't tell you if the later levels are worth sitting through, but the levels that I played up to pretty much showed all the game had to feature, so I think the first 30 levels was where I had my fair share of bombing madness. My experience with the bombing islands may have been filled with frustration, but there was also a bit of determination there. It kinda helps that the help features are kinda helpful, maybe a bit too helpful, but there is something to be said about a game that forces you to keep pushing forward to find the solution, even though the solution is right by the pause menu. And to its credit, the game does legitimately wrap your brain around logical bomb placement and calculating area and such. Let me put it this way, it was a puzzle game that definitely left me puzzled throughout, so I guess it did its job right by not letting me finish it in one sitting. So would I say The Bombing Islands is a good game? I mean, it's alright. I wouldn't call it very satisfying or addicting like most puzzle games nowadays, but it does offer quite the challenge for even the most hardcore of puzzle players. If you think you can crack, or rather blast this puzzle, then give it a shot. I'd say that if you could find this game for $5, then it's worth it for the 60 levels. This game was also released on the Nintendo 64, but with a complete makeover. It was called Charlie Blast Territory, and from what I can gather, aside from some graphical differences and an added 4-player mode, not much is different between both versions. But yeah, that's all of my thoughts on the Bombing Island, so I guess that's 1 memento down and 2 more to go. So next time I'll see you guys with— Oh man, that was quite the cliffhanger. Gee, I wonder what's gonna happen next. But you know, luckily I'm not that kind of guy, because right now I'd like to pick you up from that cliff so you're no longer hanging on it, so I can sincerely thank you for watching the video. I know it was quite a long video, especially for a game like this, so it probably didn't deserve this much of a treatment, but still, I appreciate you for sticking around, so I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I'd really like to hear your feedback on how I could improve this review show of mine, so leave a comment telling me what you thought about the video. If you liked it, then give it a like, and of course, if you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff, then feel free to subscribe. It would really motivate me to make more of these. Now, I'd like to take the time right now to direct you to 2 of my recent videos, that is not this one, that I've currently done. To the left, you can see my previous thoughts video on Sonic the Hedgehog the movie. That one is a 2-parter, so that link is going to take you to part 1. And on the right, you can listen to an original rap I made about Kingdom Hearts called Kindred Kinship. I literally made that in 2 hours, because, you know, the rap beat for Dearly Beloved was pretty cool, so it was a completely random idea, so make of that what you will. So once again, thank you for watching. I hope you had a really good time watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time when I face the evil darkness from within. That is this next game that I'm gonna tackle for the PlayStation Reunion Saga, or Saga, however you pronounce it. Ooh.